All right, Shalom, Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I want to give a call law to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Womadak Yahushua. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, which the world calls God, and Yahushua is the name of his only begotten Son, who the world inwardly calls Jesus Christ. I want to give a strong shalom to all the mighty men that's going out there, they're laboring. They're presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice. They're doing all they can to wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Not only that, they're enduring the elements, the 100-degree weathers, freezing below codes, and everything that's trying to hinder the work of the Most High. Shalom, shalom. Salaki. I want to give another strong shalom to Almighty Aqua, the sisters that are at home, but they're reverencing their husbands, and the unmarried sisters as well, being teachers of good things, tender, delicate, and on fire for the Most High God. Shalom, shalom. I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty teenagers and children in the truth, doing all they can to make their calling and election sure in these last days. All right, Shabbat Shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. And the topic of this cold cut is Hotseat Q&A Volume 2. All right, so again, we'll be doing these Hotseat Q&As for brothers and sisters. You know, they give us a lot of DMs, and we might not be able to cover all of them. So, you know, we do these Q&As to be able to answer brothers and sisters questions, you know, that do have questions out there, right? And it's good that you have questions because nobody knows all of the answers. All right, we don't know all of the answers. I don't know all of the answers through the Spirit. The only person that knows everything is the Most High God himself. Nevertheless, the wisdom that the Most High has, you know, given us, we use that to be able to edify and feed the people to the best of our ability. All right. So again, this is a hot seat Q&A, and we'll get straight into it. All right. We'll get straight into it. So let's pull up the first question. All right. From the brother Love P.S. What is the fourth watch in Matthew chapter 14 and 25 when Yahushua walked on water? All right. Let's go to it. Right. What is the fourth watch in Matthew chapter 14 and 25? Let's go to Matthew chapter 14 and verse number 25. And it reads, it says, and in the fourth watch of the night, Yahushua went unto them, walking on the sea. Right? So the fourth watch, during the Roman Empire, you had watches. All right, that, you know, the watch guards during the time of the Roman Empire, they would keep track of, and every man, you know, would switch his course. Right? So chiefly you have four. All right, the first watch would be around 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. All right, through that 3-hour span. Then you had a second watch, right, from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Then you had a third watch from 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. All right, then you have 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. So the fourth watch, in this context, when you read Matthew 14 and 25, when Yahushua was walking at night on the sea, it would be roughly from, you know, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. All right, and when you see, I could pull this up. When you just look up fourth watch, right, or you could type in fourth watch of the night. Right, it says the fourth watch or guard is a word that points to the Romans changing guard every 3 hours of the night. These were their watches kept in cities and in armies. They changed frequently for fear a longer watch would give an occasion to sleep. See that? So they would have watches during the span of 3 hours for fear, because if a man, it's like if a man keeps a 6 hour watch or a 9 hour watch, he might go asleep. All right. And the Romans during this time, they didn't want their guards. There was a lot that was going on during the Roman Empire. So they needed their men to be, vigilant and always on watch through the spirit. All right. So it says, when Christ came to his disciples, he came in the fourth watch of the night, which was from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. The fourth watch represents the most uncomfortable time, the most difficult time, the time of the last breath, the time when we have lost all hope. All right. What is a fourth watcher? The fourth watcher is defined by the Roman watch as a time spanning from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Biblically, strategic events take place particularly during the night and early morning hours watches. Jacob wrestled with God and met him face to face before entering into his destiny as Israel. See that? So these different watches, again, was set up during the time of the Roman Empire. All right. Lord willing, that answer the question. Moving on. All right, from Brother Love P.S. Who is the destroyer in Exodus 12 and 23? All right, let's go to it. Let's go to Exodus chapter 12. All right, this is the book of Exodus chapter 12 and verse number 23. It says, for the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. All right. So you might read about, during this time, the destroyer. All right. Also known as the destroyer angel. So this destroyer that is talking about is actually talking about Christ. All right. Yahushua, the Son of Man, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. In order for you to know that, you have to go through the Apocrypha. You have to know the law. You have to know the precepts. All right. Yahushua didn't just come during the time of the book of Matthew, right? He didn't come on the scene and say, you know what, this is me right now. This is me. I haven't always been here. No, he's the Son of Man. The Lord been here before the world began. He created the world and everything inside of it. So that destroyer is talking about Hamashiach Malak Yahushua, right? Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18. All right. Wisdom of Solomon, the 18th chapter. That's why you need the Apocrypha through the Spirit. Because without the Apocrypha, guess what? You're going to be lost. All right. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18 and verse number 12. It says, so they altogether had innumerable dead with one kind of death. Neither were the living sufficient to bury them. For in one moment, the noblest of spring of them was destroyed. For whereas they would not believe anything by reason of the enchantments upon the destruction of the firstborn, they acknowledged this people to be the sons of God. So the Egyptians, they acknowledged the Israelites to be the sons of the Most High. All right, the sons of God. Reading on verse 14. For while all things were in quiet silence, and that night was in the midst of her swift course, thy almighty word leaped down from heaven, out of thy royal throne, as a fierce man of war, into the midst of a land of destruction. So Wisdom of Solomon is given an in-depth account of what happened during the time of Exodus. So it says, "Why the night was swift in its quiet course, thy almighty word leaped down from heaven." Who is the word? Hey, the Lord is the word. Yahushua, he's the word. He's called the word of God. Let's get a precept on that. Let's go to Revelation chapter 19. All right, let's go to Revelation chapter 19 and verse number 13. I'm going to start at verse 12. It says, "His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood." Right? Talking about the Lord. Because when he comes back, he's going to have his garment, right, dripped in blood, man. Reading on, it says, and his name is called the Word of God. All right. And his name is called the Word of God because he is the Word of the Most High God. All right. He's literally the Word of the Lord. When the Most High created him, guess where that word spewed forth and created his son, Yahushua. All right. So that's why it says, "Thy almighty word leaped down." Let's go to the class of John chapter 1 and 1. Right. Let's go to John chapter 1 and verse number 1. Here's John 1 and 1. "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." See that? So the Word is Yahushua. He's the Word. Let's go to Psalms chapter 36. I believe that's 33. Yes, like it. Psalms 33 and verse number 6. This is the book of Psalms 33 and 6. "By the word of the Lord were the heavens made, and all the host of them by the breath of his mouth." See that? So by the word of the Lord were the heavens made. Because Yahushua, when you read Colossians, the first chapter, he created everything you can and you cannot see. So through the Spirit, he is the word of the Most High. So when you go back to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18 and 15, it says, "Thy almighty word leaped down from heaven out of thy royal throne as a fierce man of war, into the midst of a land of destruction." So Yahushua got the decree. He came down with his sword, hopped off his throne, and he started killing all the firstborn of the Egyptians. All right. Reading on verse 16. "And brought thy unfeigned commandment as a sharp sword, and standing up fill all things with death. And it touched the heaven, but it stood upon the earth." So Yahushua, he was the main reason why there was a lot of screamings that night, a lot of visions, nightmares. All right, you watch those movies, Friday the 13th, right, with Jason Voorhees. All right, you watch these different, clips and things of that nature. Michael Myers. I guess what? It was worse than that. And the Lord filled all things with destruction. Reading on, it says, "Then suddenly visions of horrible dreams troubled them sore, and terrors came upon them unlooked for. And one thrown here, another there half dead, shewed the cause of his death. For the dreams that troubled them did foreshew this, lest they should perish and not know why they were afflicted." See that? So even some of the Egyptians, they died just off having visions of Yahushua destroying them. Right? Hey, that's deep. Right? We can't forget, Exodus 15 and 3. Guess what? The Lord, he's a man of war. The Lord is his name. So who really did all that destruction in the land of Egypt? That was some Mashiach Womadak Yahushua. All right. Jump it down to verse number. I'm going to read verse 20. It says, "Yea, the tasting of death touched the righteous also. There were a destruction of the multitude in the wilderness. but the wrath endured not long. For then the blameless man made haste and stood forth to defend them, and bring the shield of his minister, even prayer and the propitiation of incense, set himself against the wrath, and so the calamity to an end, declaring that he was thy servant. Talking about, Moses. It says, verse 22, so he overcame the destroyer, not with strength of body, nor force of arms, but with a word subdue he him that punished, alleging the oaths and covenants made with the fathers. All right. So again, Yahushua, he was that destroyer when you read Exodus chapter 12 and 23. That's why the Lord told those men, you want to put the blood on the doorpost, so when the destroyer comes, he can pass over and you won't be destroyed. All right, let's go to 1 Corinthians. Let's get one more precept on that. Right? This 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse number 9. It says, neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. Because again, when you read this chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, right, Yahushua, he was in the wilderness with the Israelites. He spoke to Moses face to face. All right. He was that cloud by night and by day. So Paul is saying, neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted, meaning our forefathers that was in the wilderness. And they were destroyed as serpents. You read that in Numbers chapter 21. It says, neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured, and were destroyed of the destroyer. See that? So those men that murmured, it was destroyed by Yahushua, chiefly our forefathers. So that's, that was the destroyer in Exodus chapter 12. All right, we can move on to the next question. From Love P.S., it says, would a spiritual demon Satan still exist in the kingdom? Will heathens rebel against us? All right, that's a good question. Would a spiritual demon Satan still exist in the kingdom? Absolutely. All right. Satan was created by the Most High, and the Lord is not destroying none of his creation. All right. He's not saying, you know what, Satan, I don't need you anymore. You're not a fact. I'm gonna just destroy you. And then poof, Satan's gone. No, Satan would be, in the kingdom of heaven, man. All right. Satan is gonna be on these other nations. See, us as the Israelites, when we're in the kingdom, we're not gonna be getting tempted by Satan. All right, because we're gonna have those spiritual bodies. We're gonna have the law in our inward parts. We're not gonna be able to be sent. We're not gonna be able to be tempted. We're not gonna go off. The reason why you go off because you're tempted by the spiritual demon Satan. We're not gonna be getting tempted. But Satan, so like it's Satan, he will be on these heathens. He will be on these other nations. All right, let's go to let's go to Sirach chapter 18 first. All right, so yes, Satan, he will be in the kingdom, going to and fro in the earth, trying to hopping on these other nations. Right, this Sirach chapter 18 and verse number see what I want. Might be 16. All right. Okay, Khan. This is what I wanted. Sirach chapter 16 and 26. All right, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 16 to 26, and it reads, "For the works of the Lord are done in judgment from the beginning, and from the time he made them, he disposed the parts thereof. He garnished his works forever, and in his hand are the chief of them unto all generations. They neither labor nor are weary, nor cease from their works." So all of the works of the Most High, it does after the Most High created them, his works are not going to cease. The angels, they're still going to be doing their job. The demons, they're still going to be doing their job. All right, the sun is still going to be doing his job. The moon, the stars, the plants, the animals, everything that the Most High created, it says what? Nor cease from their works. What is the works of Satan? To cause confusions. All right, to cause iniquity, sin. All right, to tempt people. When you read verse 28, it says, "None of them hindered another, and they shall never disobey his word." So again, you're gonna have Satan. He's gonna be in the kingdom, getting all these other nations. All right, let's go to Zechariah chapter 14. All right, this is Zechariah chapter 14 and verse number 16. It says, "And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whosoever will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up, and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come up not to keep the Feast of Tabernacles." Why? Because the other nations, they're not going to have the spiritual body. All right, they're not going to have the laws in their inward parts. The other nations, they're going to be like how we are now. They're going to be striving for righteousness, but they're not going to be able to fully obtain, because they're not going to be able to eat of the tree of life. When you read Revelation, all right, the 22nd chapter, they're going to be eating the leaves. They're not going to be able to eat of the fruit. So you're going to have some other nations, the heathen, they're going to say the Feast of Tabernacles. They're going to be slothful. They're going to be lazy. Some are going to say, you know what, man, I'm not going up there to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. All right, I'm not dealing with that. Guess what? Who's causing them to do that? Satan. All right, a demon is on them. It says, "This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles." All right, so what's going to happen? It's going to be a famine. The Lord is not going to give those nations rain. And what spirit is on those nations to cause them to do that? All right, guess what? That spirit of the spiritual demon Satan. Right now, the second question is, will the heathens rebel against us? All right, let's go to Sirach 33. Now, on a manifold level, you know that the nations are going to be put in subjection. Nevertheless, you might have, a few heathen that try to duck off, try to worship a false idol somewhere, an image, a grove, do things they not supposed to be doing. And it's your job, as an Israelite, if you do inherit the lot of the other nations and you have your own possession of them, you're going to have to keep them in check. You're going to have to let them know that, hey, no, you're not doing this. Put a yoke of iron upon his neck. Set burdens and fetters on them. You're going to have some heathen, they're going to be just disobedient. All right, and you're going to have to, guess what? Hey, come over here. You have to put them in check. Let's go to Sirach 33 and verse number 25. It says, "If thou set thy servant to labor, thou shalt find rest. But if thou let him go idle, he shall seek liberty. A yoke and a collar do bow down the neck. So are tortures and torments for an evil servant." So guess what? You're gonna have some evil servants in the kingdom. All right, that's gonna have that spirit of rebelliousness. All of them are not gonna be like that. Nevertheless, that's why you're gonna have to set yokes and irons and collars and torments and tortures upon them. Because a heathen might, do something off. You don't want to just kill them off. Because again, that's your possession. You might need them to work into the field. You're gonna have certain brothers, what at least they think that a heathen go off, they just gonna kill him. Next you know, you're gonna kill all of the heathens. Well, guess what, brother? Who's gonna be your servants and handmaids? You killed them all off and you're angry. So you're gonna have, fetters and iron. All right. Just like they had us. They had us in, we had runaway slaves during when we was in captivity. And for the slaves that run away, what did they put upon them? A yoke of iron with bells on it. So if we did try to run away, the bells will ring. These tactics that the so-called white man used against us, guess what? We're going to be using against them. Reading them, because again, you got to be realistic here. All right. Reading on, it says, send him to labor that he be not idle, for idleness teach him much evil. Set him to work as it is fit for him. And if he be not obedient, put on more heavy fetters. See that? Now, this is chiefly, dealing with your servants, all right, of servants. Nevertheless, this is going to be applied, to the other nations. The Lord said, if he be not obedient, put upon him more burdens and heavy fetters. Bow down his neck to the yoke. All right. Let's move on to the next question. Right? From Love Pierce. Why does it say in Genesis 49:12 that Yahweh's eyes will be red with wine and his teeth white like milk? All right, let's go to it. All right, let's go to Genesis, the 49th chapter. All right. All right, let's go to Genesis chapter 49. All right, let's go to Genesis chapter 49:12. And it reads, I'm going to start at verse 10. Right? It says, the scepter shall not depart from Judah. What is a scepter? A scepter is those little staff things that kings had in the ancient world, during the medieval times, things of that nature. All right. So the scepter shall not depart from Judah, meaning, the kingship shall not depart from the tribe of Judah till what? It says, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him shall be a gathering of the people be. All right. Who is Shiloh? Shiloh is Masonic. It's another Masonic name for the Lord. All right. Yahweh has many different titles. The Prince of Peace, the Lord of Lords, Shiloh, the Destroyer. These different titles that the Lord has. All right. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be, meaning all the tribes of Israel will be all gathered together on one accord when Shiloh returns, meaning when Yahweh returns. Reading on, it says, bind his coat, his foal into the vine, and his ass's coat unto the choice vine. You can read that prophecy in Zechariah chapter 99, that the Lord will be riding meek and lowly upon an ass. It says he washed his garments in wine and his clothes in the blood of grapes. Right? We just read that in Revelation chapter 19, that the Lord's garments will be red with wine. Due to what? The destruction and him treading in the wine press, being the other nations. So when you read Genesis, the 49th chapter, chiefly 10 through 12, yes, it's going into the tribe of Judah on one fold, but on the main fold, this is a future prophecy of the Lord in the Old Testament. All right. Now, verse 12, the point, his eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. All right. Again, one fold is going into the tribe of Judah. You know, if you break it down like that, there's nothing wrong. But chiefly, this is going into, you know, a Masonic verse, for lack of better terms, of Yahushua. So when it says his eyes shall be red with wine, right? That could be on the main fold. The Lord, he drunk wine. All right. Things of that nature. He was a wine bibber. But when you read, let's go to Revelation chapter 1. All right, let's go to Revelation, the first chapter. All right, this is Revelation chapter 1 and verse number 14. And it reads, it says, his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. So when you read Genesis 49, it says his eyes shall be red with wine. You read Revelation chapter 1 and 14, it says his eyes were as a flame of fire. All right, it's synonymous with each other. Again, it could be going into many-fold things. Certain brothers say, you know, that's going into the fierceness that the Lord is coming back with. That's going into Yahushua during the time when he was walking. He drank a lot of wine because he was going through it a lot. Nevertheless, that's synonymous with his eyes being as a flame of fire. Now, when you read Genesis 49 and 12, it says, in his teeth, white with milk. Right? What is that talking about? Is that literal? Yahushua's teeth is just white, and he's just drinking milk all day to make it white. All right. What does white represent? White represents righteousness. All right. Purity, innocency. All right. That's what white represents. Let's get a precept on that. Let's go to Revelation chapter 19. All right. Let's go to Revelation chapter 19 and verse number 8. It says, and to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of saints. See that? So that white and fine linen, that represents, you know, righteousness. When you read Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and 8, the Lord said, let thy garments be always white, let thy head lack no ointments. All right, let's go to Lamentations chapter 4. All right, let's go to Lamentations, the 4th chapter. So you want to make sure you pay attention to those different type of descriptions, because every description has a precept for it. All right, this this Lamentations chapter 4 and 7. It says her Nazarites were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy and body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire. So the Nazarite, what is basic? Does that mean the Nazarites are literally white with milk? No, that's just going into the Lord describing how pure and holy and innocent and morally upright, chiefly holy, and how set apart the Nazarites were due to the vow and the consecration that was upon their head that made them set apart unto the Most High God, due to the certain laws and ordinances that they had to keep. All right. So when it says, and his teeth shall be white like milk, that white represents the righteousness. All right. The milk represents, what does milk represent? Let's go to Isaiah, the 7th chapter. Let's go to Isaiah, the 7th chapter. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 7, and verse number 14. It says, therefore, the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Butter and honey shall he eat, that he may know to refuse evil and to choose the good. So this is a prophecy going into Yahushua. Now it says, butter and honey shall he eat. When you read in the scriptures, read about the butter, the honey, the milk, which represents what? The understanding and the wisdom of the scriptures. All right. Because when you get butter, you gotta churn you try to churn milk. Keep churning milk, eventually it's gonna turn into what? Butter. That represents the butter represents the wisdom, knowledge, understanding of the scriptures. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 55. All right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 55 and verse number 1. It says, ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that hath no money, come ye, buy and eat. Yea, come buy wine and milk without money and without price. Now, this is not literal. When it says, come ye buying wine and milk, it's talking about, again, the understanding, the wisdom, not your understanding. So on another fold, Yahweh Shai, he's going to be filled with that. That's why his teeth is white like milk on another fold, due to the wisdom, not your understanding. And this thing is free. That's why it says what? Come, he that have no money. If you come into this truth, guess what? We're not asking for money. You don't have to pay money. And guess what? Now you're in the truth. No, this thing is free, but you do have to buy it with your time. So that's what Genesis chapter 49, 10 through 12 is going into. All right, next question. From the brother Love Pierce. What does the unleavened bread represent during Passover? Let's go to it. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 5. All right. Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 5. So when you eat at the Passover, it's a lot of things that represent, in the Passover. Everything is spiritual. Let me get that first in Romans chapter 7. The law is spiritual. All right. Let's go to Romans chapter 7 and verse number 14. It's the book of Romans chapter 7 and 14. For we know that the law is spiritual, for I am carnal, sold under sin. So the law is spiritual. Everything in the law is spiritual. The things in the law was a shadow of things to come. You read about that in Hebrews chapter 10 and verse number 1. So dealing with the Passover, you had the bitter herbs, the wine, the lamb, the unleavened bread. All of those things is spiritual. What does it represent? Chiefly, the lamb represents Yahushua because he is that lamb without blemish. You had a bitter herbs that represents the hard bondage, all right, that we had in captivity in Egypt. You have the wine, which represents the blood of Yahushua. Last but not least, you have the unleavened bread. You might be, hold on, what does the unleavened bread mean? Surely bread doesn't have a meaning. What that unleavened bread represents, chiefly, it goes a lot of folds. You having a true doctrine, understanding, without being leavened, all right? You being without sin, you having no leaven, which the leaven represents the sin and wickedness. So you being unleavened, meaning you having no sin or wickedness inside you. These different things make up chiefly the law, again, which is spiritual. So let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 5. Right? This 1 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse number 6. It says, for your glorying is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump? Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump. For ye are unleavened, even Christ our Passover is sacrificed for us. So guess what? It says there's not a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. So all it could take, that again, that leaven represents sin. A little sin could ruin the whole batch of dough. The dough represents you. You are the dough. All it takes is a little sin, a little leaven. It could leaven the whole lump, the whole body. Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, for ye are unleavened. And we're supposed to be unleavened. Unleavened bread is a part of our culture. Guess what? Esau, he's the one that's over here putting yeast and all of this stuff inside the damn bread. And chemicals all in the bread. Guess what? That's not a part of our culture, man. Our culture, hey, is unleavened bread. Esau putting down B2 and these different things and stuffing it inside the bread. You got pieces of bread this huge. I guess the Lord, the Most High is not dealing with. He said, "What we are unleavened. For even Christ our Passover is sacrificed for us. Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with unleavened bread of sincerity and truth." That's why leading up to the Passover, we have to purge out. The Passover is 2.5 months away. We have to purge out that leaven now, that leaven of malice and wickedness. If you have any malice, if you have malice, if you're moving in the spirit of malice, you have a demon on you. You have an evil spirit. If you're moving in the spirit of wickedness, that's a demon. You have to purge that out leading up to the Passover so you can keep the Passover with sincerity and truth. Because if not, and your heart is deceitful before the Lord, and you eat at a Passover with leavened bread, that's like you eating a Passover with leavened bread. That's off. If you're moving in that spirit of wickedness, you might as well get your lamb, your bitter herbs, your wine. You might as well just get some regular bread, some mother's bread. That's synonymous for you moving in the spirit of what? Wickedness. So it's very important that we purge out that leaven of wickedness leading up to the Passover. Let's go to 2 Corinthians. All right. Actually, let's go to 1 Corinthians 11. All right. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse number 24. All right, 1 Corinthians 11 and 24. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, "Take, eat. This is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me." After the same manner also he took the cup. And when he had supped, saying, "This cup is the New Testament of my blood. Do ye as oft as ye drink it in remembrance of me." So it says in verse 24, "Take, eat. This is my body, which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me." So the bread, Yahweh Shai, he's the bread as well. And Yahweh Shai, he was without sin. He's likened it to that unleavened bread, that unleavened cake. That's why when you read verse 26, it says, "For as often as ye eat this bread and drink this cup, ye do shew the Lord's death till he come. Wherefore, whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. For he that eateth and drinketh unworthily eateth and drinketh damnation to himself, not discerning the Lord's body." So you want to purge out that leaven because you don't want to eat of the Passover unworthily. All right. You want to make sure you have discernment of the Lord's body. That's why it says, "Let a man examine himself." That's why you need self-examination. You need self-examination. All right, let's get one more precept. Let's go to John. All right, because the Lord, he is the bread. right? This is John chapter 6 and 32. This is John 6 and 32. And Yahushua said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he which cometh down from heaven and giveth life unto the world. And they said unto him, Lord, evermore give us this bread. And Yahushua said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. So the Lord said that bread that Moses gave you, that was cool and all, but guess what? My Father give you the true bread from heaven. And the true bread is he who came down from heaven to give life unto the world, which was what? None other than a Mashiach Malak Yahushua. So that's in a nutshell, right? It's more precepts, right? Brother's gonna be doing, breakdowns leading up to the Passover. Nevertheless, that's what the unleavened bread represents. All right, we can move on to the next question. Let's see. All right, from tribe of Judah, what did Yahushua write on the ground when he said, "Cast the first stone"? Who is without sin? And John chapter 8 and 6. All right, let's go to it. Let's go to John chapter 8. All right, let's go to John chapter 8 and verse number 6. Right, and it reads, it says, and they said, tempting him, that they might to have accused him. But Yahushua stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground as though he heard them not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that which is out sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And when they heard it, and being convinced by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Yahushua was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. And when Yahushua lifted himself and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Have no man condemned thee? She said, No, man, Lord. And Yahushua said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. So you had this count is really when the Pharisees tried to get this woman to be stoned by taking her, into adultery in the act so-called. As far as what Yahushua wrote on the ground, it's not written. All right. We don't know what the Lord wrote. Yahushua, he could have just been, kind of doing this. Because when you read verse 6, it says, But Yahushua stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground as though he heard them not. So when he was writing on the ground, he was pretending and acting like he didn't even hear what they was trying to say. So as far as what Yahushua wrote, it's not contained what it doesn't say in the scriptures. We could only go by what's written for in the accounts. All right, you don't want to add, not saying you, but a lot of brothers, they'll try to add that in there. Oh, yeah, Yahushua, he really was writing down his number, right? Because he really liked this woman. No, that's off. Oh, yeah, the Lord was really, he's really kind of writing this. It's not contained. And that's a lot of things that Yahushua did. There's so many things that the Lord did. It's not contained in the Gospels because it's too much. All right, let's get that in John chapter 21. Let's get that in John chapter 21 and verse number 25. All right, we will be off if we tried to insert that in there. Yeah, the Lord really wrote this. There's no proof of what he wrote. All right. So let's go to the book of John 21 and 25. It says, and there are also many other things which Yahushua did, the which, if they should be written, every one of them, it's like every one, I suppose that even the world itself cannot contain the books that should be written. Amen. So it says, there's many other things which the Lord did. It's not, we're not going to get an in-depth account of every single thing that Yahushua did. All right. Again, a lot of these accounts in the Gospels, these men, they're eyewitnesses. But even an eyewitness is not going to get the actual account of what's really going in. I have a scribe writing down the accounts that we are doing as the Israelites, but he's not going to know every in-depth account in my personal life, because a lot of things he might not see that I do, but I might not do around him, and things of that nature. So exactly what Yahushua wrote, it wouldn't be written. It's not really too much in depth on that. Moving on to the next question. All right. Shalom from Brother Marquas. Shalom, King. Shalom, August Joshua 19 and 47 and Judges 18 and 26 through 29, the same account. And Joshua, the name of the city Dan took over was Leshem, but in Judges, the city is called Laish. All right, let's go to it. All right, mighty questions. All right, let's go to Joshua chapter 19. Let's go to the book of Joshua, chapter 19 and 47. It says, and the coast of the children of Dan went out too little for them. Therefore the children of Dan went up to fight against Leshem and took it, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and possessed it, and dwelt therein, and called Leshem Dan after the name of Dan their father. All right. Let's go to Judges 18 to 26. Judges 18 and 26. I'm going to start at verse 25. It says, and the children of Dan said unto them, let not thy voice be heard among us, lest any angry fellows run upon thee and lose thy life with the lives of thy household. And the children of Dan with their way. And when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back into his house. And they took the things which Micah had made and the priest, and came into Lachish unto a people that were quiet and secure. And they smote them with the edge of the sword, and they burnt the city with fire. All right. And there was no deliverer, because it was far from Zidon, and they had no business with any man. And it was the valley that lieth in Betharab, and they built a city and dwelt therein. And they called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan their father, who was born unto Israel. Howbeit the name of that city was Laish at the first. All right, so let's see if we can pull this up on the screen. Now, when you go into Joshua, the 19th chapter, all right, for the account, that's the account where the tribes were given their inheritance, from Simeon all the way down, chiefly to the tribe of Dan. See if I can pull this up on the screen. All right. See if I can pull this up. Bear with me. All right. Now, when you go into it, it says the Hebrew Bible states that prior to his conquest of by the tribe of Dan, the site was known as Laish, with variant spells within the book of Joshua, Judges, and Isaiah. In Joshua 19:47, it is called Leshem, which means jewels. Isaiah 10:30 has the alternate name Laish in a number of translations. All right. So that's why when you read the book of Judges 18-26, originally that land is the same account. Originally, that land was called Laish before the conquest of Joshua. All right. And when you pull this on the map, it's chiefly the same region. All right. Leshem and Laish. Trying to see if they got better pictures. Okay, you got some. Says Judges 18:7. When then the 5 men departed and came to Laish and saw the people who were in it living in security, after the manner of Sidonians, quiet and secure, for there was no ruler, humiliating them for any of the land, and they were far from the Sidonians and had no dwelling with anyone. Joshua 19:47. The territory of the sons of Dan proceeded beyond them, for the sons of Dan went up and fought against with Lasham and captured it. Then they struck it with the edge of the sword and possessed it and settled in it. And they called Lesham Dan after the name of Dan their father. Right? So it's the same account, through the spirit. And another precept you'll be able to link that up with is Isaiah, right? Chapter 10, 30, I believe. All right. So we can move on to the next question. All right, from Love Pius, who is the last person to have the Ark of the Covenant? Ark of Covenant. All right, let's go to Second Maccabees. All right, let's go to Second Maccabees. All right, good questions. Let's go to Second Maccabees, chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 1. Second Maccabees 2:1. Now, chiefly, when you read the book of First Samuel, leading up all the way to the Kings, you read about the Ark of the Covenant. But after that, you don't find any more information leading up to the prophets about the Ark of the Covenant. So a lot of people that are asking questions, well, hold on, where did the Ark of the Covenant go? What happened? What happened to it? Things of that nature. Second Maccabees, the second chapter, is going to give you an end-up account, of what happened with the Ark of the Covenant. Right? So this Second Maccabees 2:1, it is also found in records that Jeremiah the prophet commanded them that were carried away to take of the fire as it had been signified, and how that the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Lord, and that they should not err in their minds when they see the images of silver and gold with the ornaments. See, that's off. The Israelites, that's evil, man. When they see the images of silver and gold and ornaments, they mind start getting perverted and erred, and wickedness starts to fill their heart. All right, that's why Jeremiah had to give them the law. He charged the people, guess what? Don't forget these laws, statutes, and commandments. Because as soon as the Israelites they see that gold, and that's like our people today. I seen this one Eve. I was going to the bathroom at camp, and this one Eve, she was just staring at the Christmas tree, and she was just getting seduced by all of the bright lights. She was just staring at it like this. So our people, they see them lights and them gold and them ornaments. Guess what? They start erring in their minds. It says, verse 3, and with other such speeches exhorted he them that the hearts should not depart from their law. It's like that the law should not depart from their hearts. It was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of God, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him, as he went forth into the mountain where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of God. And when Jeremiah came hither, he found an hollow, a cave wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense, and stopped the door. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it. Which when Jeremiah perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that God gathered his people again together and received them unto mercy. So the last person that had the ark of the covenant will be the prophet Jeremiah. He had to hide it from the children of Israel, lest they get that and they worship it with all their heart, mind, and soul. All right. Next question. From T. Sellers. When should the two messengers appear and who are they? All right. When should the two messengers appear and who are they? I'm not sure about what you mean, the two messengers. All right. If you're able to restate that question in the chat, Lord willing, we can answer it. I'm not sure if you're talking about the two witnesses. I don't know about the two messengers. All right, Lord willing, you could rephrase this question. All right, from D-Bash Branch, who did Lamech slain? Well, it's unknown. We could go to the account, but it's not written who Lamech killed. All right. It's not written who Lamech killed. Let's go to Genesis chapter 4 and verse number 18. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begot Mahujel, and Mahujel begot Methuselah, and Methuselah begot Lamech. And Lamech took unto him two wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other Zilhah. Now these are all the sons of the wicked on the left hand. You have the sons of the righteous will be the sons of Seth. Then you had the sons of the wicked which will be the sons of Cain and his descendants. It says, and Adah bare Jubal, which was the father of such that dwelt in tents, and of such that have cattle. And his brother's name was Jubal, and he was the father of all that such as handled harp and organ. And Zilhah, she also bare Tubal Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zilhah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain be avenged 70-fold, truly Lamech 70 and 7-fold. And that's off. Because who are you to put the judgment of another man upon yourself? It's like he tried to outdo Cain. Yeah, Cain killed his brother Abel. Guess what? I'm going to kill somebody. I'm going to have a worse judgment than Cain. That's evil. So as far as who did Lamech kill, it's not written, but we know it was a young man. We know probably the man was innocent. Most likely he was innocent, right? didn't really do anything wrong. He's probably going about his business. Just like Cain innocently killed Abel, Lamech, being a wicked, innocently killed a young man. All right. We can move on to the next question. It says, what will happen to our, from T Sellers, what will happen to our sons and daughters that are married outside of Israel? Will they make it in? What will happen to our sons and daughters that are married outside of Israel? What do you mean are married? Are you talking about, are they married, meaning have heathen-ish children, or that married the other nations? All right, if you're talking about as the sons and daughters being heathen, will they make it in? Then no. All right, no. All right, that's not happening. So if an Israelite, they marry outside of the other nations, and that's why the Lord told us not to do that for a reason. So if they marry outside of the other nation and they go get another nation, they have sons and daughters, will they make it in? Absolutely, absolutely not. Because according to the Bible, you are who your father is. It's good. Let's go to that in Numbers 1:18. It don't matter if they're a child. Hold on, they're just children. It wasn't their fault. It was the parents' fault. But that's why the Lord told you to get you a woman of thy own seed. You know, get you a woman of your own nation. You sisters, get you a man. Chiefly you sisters. It's only you chiefly with the women. Get you a man of your own nation, of the nation of Israel, and not a heathen man. All right, let's go to Numbers chapter 1:18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of their names from 20 years and upward by their polls. So again, you are who your father is according to the scriptures. And if you marry, you have children that's heathens, those children's, the Lord said what? Prepare slaughter for them. Let's go to Job chapter 27. And that chiefly, you know, that will be their judgment. Go to Job 27 and verse number 14. Right, this Job 27 and 14. If his children be multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread. So if the children be multiplied, the Lord said it's for the sword. So as far as those Israelites, you know, that marry outside of Israel, they had sons and daughters that are heathens. Unfortunately, you know, they will have to go into captivity. All right, we can move on. From Drippa JJSJ. On the Sabbath, are we allowed to indulge in non-profit work, not for money, brother? Right? Are we allowed to indulge in non-profit work? Well, the Lord said, you shall do no work therein. That includes servile work, and it might be work as far as, you know, no raking the leaves, cleaning up around the house, none of that. On the Sabbath, it's a day of rest. Let's go to that in Exodus 31. So no work at all on the Sabbath, whether that's non-profit, whether that's servile work. It's a day of rest. All right. No going in for community service. You might have community service. Hey, guess what? No community service. Try to tell the judge, hey, I can't do this on this day. It's a Sabbath. All right, let's go to Job. It's like you just go to Exodus 31 and 14. Exodus 31 and 14. You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath, he shall surely be put to death. And that's how serious the Sabbath day was and still is. Any type of work that's done on that day, guess what? You can be put to death for that. The Lord could kill you for that through the Spirit. So you want to exact from all of your labors. Just like you would do a fast, you want to exact from all of your labors on the Sabbath day. In the ancient world, nobody was working on the Sabbath, not even the cattle. Let's go to that in Exodus chapter 20. It's Exodus chapter 20 and verse number 10. It says, but in the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. Even the cattle wasn't doing any work. So whether it's for non-profit, profit, no work could be done on the Lord's holy Shabbat. It's the most sacred, holiest day. All right. From T. Sellers. Let's see. It says, I know that Leviathan will be used in the waters to destroy. But what is the other on land that will destroy? All right. I know that the Leviathan will be used in the waters to destroy, but what is the other on the land that will destroy? Right? If I'm getting this correct, I think you're talking about what is the other creature that the Most High created on land. All right. So you have, the Most High created two big, enormous creatures, one for the water, one for the land. The water will be Leviathan. All right. He will be the water creature with fins and scales that the Lord has created in the waters. Now you had the other animal. This is a clean animal, which is behemoth. All right. That's the other creature that the Lord created on land. Let's go to second Esdras. Right. Let's go to second Esdras chapter 6. And let's go to second Esdras chapter 6 and verse number 47. Second Esdras 6 and 47. Upon the 5th day, thou saidst unto the 7th part, where the waters were gathered, that it shall bring forth living creatures, fowls, fishes. And it so came to pass. For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of God, and all the people might praise thy wondrous works. Then didst thou ordain 2 living creatures, the one called Enoch, that's Enoch is in the Greek, but in the Hebrew it's behemoth. All right. The other Leviathan, and didst separate the one from the other. For the 7th part, namely, where the water was gathered together, might not hold them both. So there were 2 big creatures that it wasn't able to hold them both together. So the Lord had to separate these creatures. It says, unto Enoch thou gavest 1 part, which was dried up the 3rd day, that he should dwell in the same part, wherein are 1,000 hills. So you have Enoch All right. Also, Behemoth, also known as Behemoth, he's in a land where it's 1,000 hills. All right. And that land, that just shows you that it's more land on the earth or that hasn't been discovered than Esau says. Because where's this land where it's 1,000 hills where this creature is? I thought Esau discovered the whole earth, but it's certain parts of the earth that hasn't been discovered yet. If you see how big Alaska is, there's no discovering all of that. Certain parts down there, you can't even go down there because the weather, the Mossad got the temperature on blast up there. It's too cold. How much more for certain other parts of the earth? All right. Reading on. Verse 52. But unto Leviathan thou gavest the seventh part, namely the moist. Thou hast kept him to be devoured, of whom thou wilt and when. So again, the other creature on land, what would be a land of 1,000 hills, would be Behemoth. Right? You could also read about him in the book of Job. Let's go to that. And Leviathan is where you get your so-called, Esau make movies, Leviathan, things of that nature. That's where you get that, so-called Godzilla from. All right. Nevertheless, let's go to Job number 15. Job 40 and 15. It says, now behold now, Behemoth, which I made with thee, he eateth grass as an ox. Lo now, his strength is in his loins, and his force in the navel of his belly. He moveth his tail like a cedar. The sinews of his stones are wrapped together. His bones are as strong pieces of brass. His bones are like bars of iron. See that? So when you read Job chapter 40, 50 on down, it gives an in-depth account about Behemoth. And this creature is a clean animal. He has fins and not fins scales, but he cheweth the cud, he's cloven footed, and he divided the hut. He's a clean animal. All right. That's why it says he eateth grass as an ox. Verse number 19. He is the chief of the ways of God. He that made him can make his sword to approach unto him. Surely the mountains bring him forth food, where all of the beasts of the field do play. He lieth under the shady trees, and the cover of the reed and fence. The shady trees cover him with their shadow, and willows of the brook compass him about. Behold, he drinketh of a river, and hasteth not. He trusteth that he could drop Jordan into his mouth. He taketh it with his eyes, his nose pierceth through snares. All right, see that? So Leviathan is a mighty creature that the Most High created. So that would be the other creature, but would be on land. All right. But with that, we giving all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, Kumalak Yahushua. All right, we didn't get to your question. I see there's more questions on here. Lord willing, next week we'll be doing the volume 3. You can save your questions and put it in next week, Lord willing. All right. But again, Lord willing, this was edifying. Continue to read, pray, fast, study. Most importantly, beseech the Heavenly Father for his mercy. With that, I'm saying shalom.